Still waiting to be let in?
Yeah, we got him in now.
Okay, good.
We just have to make him a co-host and then we'll be set. All right, we're good to go.
Like to call to order the Queen Anne's County Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, February 11th, 2021. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comments?
All right. We're going to go to, do we have any in the room? John, did you want to do that first, John?
Can you come up to the table?
Afterward. Okay,
Oh, okay.
my misunderstanding, excuse me.
Any other public comments?
Do we have any public comment from people out there?
No, I just had one
Okay.
gentleman sign up.
All right, then we're going to go over to Zoom. We do have a couple people waiting. I'm going to go to our first public comment today. It's from Robert Baylor. So, Mr. Baylor, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Could you please introduce yourself?
I am Robert Baylor of QACTV Homes. I'm an employee of QACTV Homes. I'm the director of warranty. I have my employees and my coworkers that work in Kent Island and quite a few other communities too, but Kent Island is what we're talking about today. And this
I don't wanna hear this now.
project is very important to us.
Excuse me, Robert. If it's about the Condominium home project, we'll do that after we open for that project. Did you have something else you wanted to do public comment on?
Oh, no. That's what I
That's
thought
okay.
this was. I am so sorry.
No problem.
No problem. We'll come back to you later, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our
Any
next
other
up.
public comments?
What's that?
Any other public comments?
Yeah, we do have a couple more. I'm going to go to Jason Smith. So, Jason, if yours was also on that project, please let us know. I'm going to unmute you.
Is he there?
My name is Jason Smith, and that is on the Condominium project.
Okay, sure. All right, I'll go ahead and mute you, and we'll come back to you. Thank you, Jason. All right, then we have one more, Stephanie. I'm going to ask you to unmute, and if yours is also about that project, let us know.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie, and mine is also on the QACTV project.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Okay. No more public comments. Meeting minutes review.
Madam Chair, I have one correction to make. The agenda has slipped forward, but I believe that, and correct me if I'm,
I wasn't here.
Mr. Baker was not in attendance as the minutes state,
I caught that. Right.
but otherwise, no corrections or adjustments.
Did you get that,
And-
Sharon?
And make a motion that we approve with that amendment.
Sharon?
She was nodding.
Yes, I got it, I'm good.
Okay. All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. No extension request. Updates, legal and legislation. Amy?
Morning. Yes, I have one update on legislation, and that is that County Ordinance 20-13, which is the cottage homes text amendment. The hearing was held on the 28th of January. On the 9th of February, the commissioners unanimously approved that piece of legislation, so that ordinance will become effective on the 27th of March.
Good.
I have one update for you, just to let you know that the Chick-fil-A on Kent Island is being renovated slightly. It's such a minor renovation that in discussion with Vivian Swenson, we're not going to bring it before you for a site plan review, but we wanted to let you know it was happening. What is happening is that they are removing one of the drive-up windows that they had previously come in for an approval to construct. they're removing that and putting in a door. And they're doing some updates to the brickwork and the paint, but it is just general upkeep, and the materials and colors and textures will not change. So if you see that work going on, we wanted to let you know what it was and why we didn't put it on an agenda.
Okay. Is that it, Amy?
That's all.
So,
Thank you.
Amy, can you explain why they were removing the other drive-through window? It seems, especially even on the weekends, now, they have significant overflow out into the roadways. And that's even taking 2 lanes with people coming in. Wouldn't the second window help reduce that flow?
Do you know, I do not know their motivation. I know that they said that they found that it wasn't necessary. So no, I really don't.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any more discussion? Major subdivision and site plan for projects, SP number 19-06-27-C, Four Seasons at Kent Island, Phase 3 and 4, K. Hovnanian's Four Seasons at Kent Island, LLC.
Good morning.
Steve.
My name's Steve Cahoon. I'm with the Department of Public Works, previously with Planning and Zoning, and have history with this project, so I'm here today to present it. There's a lot, everybody knows Four Seasons has a long history with the county, and there's a lot of, a lot of information that goes with the project. I'm going to do an overview about some of the previous approvals and how we got where we are. I'll try to keep that pretty brief and just an overview of the project and what's being proposed, and then turn it over to the applicant for some more detailed presentation. We're here today looking at Phase 3 and 4 of the Four Seasons project. It is a 4-phase project. Phase 1 was approved in 2005. It was 162 units. Phase 1 was 162 units approved in 2005, started construction in 2016. Phase 2 was approved in 2018, and it was 249 units. Phase 3 and 4 is the remainder of the project, so this would be the final phases of the project and build out the project. There was a Phase 5, and if you recall, Phase 5 was across the creek, and a bridge needed to be constructed to get to it, which required a wetland license. K. Hovnanian was not able to secure that wetland license, therefore Phase 5 was removed from the project, and it became 136 acres of donated parkland to the county. It was originally proposed as 271 units, so there was a reduction in the overall project from preliminary approval till today, to the project today. The original preliminary approval was for 1,350 homes. Phase 1, as you know, has been constructed. It was on a piece of property between Castle Marina Road and Macomb Creek, and that construction they pretty much built out Phase 1. Phase 2, 3, and 4 is on Parcel 7, which is to the west and north of Castle Marina Road. Phase 2, which was 179 single-family lots located between Castle Marina Road and Cox Creek, is under construction now. Phase 2 also included 5 multifamily buildings at the end of Castle Marina Road for 70 condo units, and it also included the clubhouse on the property. The parkland dedication is across the creek, across Cox Creek, and it's 136 acres. It's right on the Cross Island Trail, and the 300-foot shore buffer had been left to be established, and it's a fully forested 300-foot shore buffer. The county owns a property to the north, which is Davidson Park or Davidson Farm, and then we also own the county properties for the Board of Ed and the library to the west of the donated parcel. The zoning for the property is Chester Master Plan Development Area and Stevensville Master Plan Development Area. Phase 1 and 2 were in the Chester Master Plan Development Area. That zoning came out of the original Chester Community Plan. And then the property to the north, where Phase 3 and 4 is going to be located, is zoned Stevensville Master Plan Development Area. The Master Plan Development Areas were really a flexible zoning district that gave a lot of authority to the Planning Commission to take a look at and work on flexibility in the development concept to get good design, try to get consistent architecture throughout the entire project, different styles of buildings, different types of housing types. And these were master plan development districts in our designated growth areas that would be served with water and sewer and would connect to trails and other parts of the community, parks. The Four Seasons started their approval process. They first submitted in 1999 and received concept plan approval in 2000. They updated the concept plan 2001. In 2001, the county also changed the critical area designation through the award of growth allocation. That's the process where you can change the critical area designations in order to implement your plans. And so that occurred with this project. It was amended into the Master Water and Sewer Plan for sewer service. There was also a Developers' Rights and Responsibilities Agreement, which was entered into. APFO was reviewed and approved for infrastructure at the time, preliminary subdivision approval, and then Phase 1 and Phase 2 were approved. The critical area designation, the majority of the property is designated IDA, Intense Development Area, and portions of the shore buffer along Cox Creek were left RCA, Resource Conservation Area. The development activity is occurring within the IDA. All the lots, buildings, and stormwater facilities need to be in the IDA. The outfalls for stormwater management, as we'll be discussing later, can be in the RCA. Some of with growth allocation, with the change of the critical area designation, that there were conditions of approval. Some of the main conditions were 300-foot shore buffers along Cox Creek, 150-foot shore buffer along Chester River. Forest plantings could not be on individual lots. They would be in community open space to keep them protected. Buffer management plans must be approved by the county and by the Critical Area Commission, and that occurred. There were no waterfront lots. The whole project was designed so that the buffer would be in community space. Best management practices be used for stormwater management, and that once growth allocation was awarded, it was awarded for a specific project and specific layout and specific design. So the applicant had to keep that in place as they moved through the approval, the final phases of approval for site plan and subdivision. The Developer Rights and Responsibilities Agreement that was entered into was also a key component of the project approval. The DRRA basically locked in 2002 zoning regulations, locked them in place so that the developer could secure approvals knowing what the rules were going to be. And in return, the county received infrastructure upgrades above and beyond what would have been required by the project. So there's a number of infrastructure upgrades which the county received. APFO, the county had an APFO ordinance at the time this project was coming through. We had to look at water, roads, sewer, and we did not look at schools because this is an age-restricted community. Water and sewer, they had to build all the infrastructure necessary to support the project. The water tower that went up, a new sewer main, 2 pump stations for the build out of the project. A water treatment plant has to be built in Stevensville as part of the project, and that's coming with Phase 3 and 4. Also, road improvements. We looked at what road improvements. We projected out traffic and projected out the build out, and then also incorporated the projects in the area to project what the traffic would be as the project built out, and extracted a number of improvements listed there. This is a copy of the preliminary plan, just to show you, as we look at this, you'll see that the layout and design is very similar to what was approved back in 2004 with this preliminary plan. And you can see the development that was in the top left of this that was proposed on what we know as the Tanner Farm, or the Park Donation property. That's where the 270 units went away. Phase 1 was built out very well, consistent with the preliminary plan. Almost identical as it was in 2004 when this plan was approved. And the phase 3 and 4, the layout design is consistent with the 2004 preliminary plan. So today, it's the applicant's requesting major subdivision approval for 374 single-family lots, and major site plan approval for 21 condominium buildings. There's 14 units in each building for a total of 294 condominiums. As you can see, the Castle Marina Road comes up, and everything to the north of Castle Marina Road pretty much is phase 3 and 4. Let's see, the 374 single-family homes, right at the bottom is Bayside Condominiums, and so this is north between Bayside and Cloverfield Subdivision. The single-family homes will be more on the western side of the property, and the multifamily homes will be clustered on the Chester River side of the property. The subdivision plat has all the required, it plats the lots, but it also designates the right-of-ways. It shows all the required stormwater management easements, utility easements, forest protection areas, and deeded open space. So all that information is represented in the subdivision plat. Generally, the lots are going to be 6,000 to 11,000 square feet, and they will back to open space. There's a portion of the plat. The setbacks are consistent with what was done in phase 1 and 2. Front yard 20 feet, side yard 5 feet, and rear yard 10 feet. The multifamily, which is the site plan component of this, they're kind of grouped in 2 sections on the property. This is the southern section near Bayside Condominiums. There's 9 buildings, and they're clustered around the 5 buildings that were approved in phase 2. The buildings are consistent with what's been built out there today and was proposed with phase 2. It's 9 buildings, 4 stories tall, 14 units in each building, and then 14 garage units with each building. There is additional parking in these clusters of condominium buildings for visitors or additional vehicles. They do have sidewalks connecting them to the roadside sidewalks in the subdivision. They also have street trees, street lights, and the dumpster screening that you would normally see. The northern cluster of townhomes up near Cloverfields, same style buildings, same height, same 14 units in each, and sidewalks and street trees. This is just a example showing you, that where street trees will be along most of the private roads, and then this specific spot shows the buffering between the Bayside community and then the where the multifamily homes are going adjacent to it. There will be a berm and a planted buffer between the Bayside community and the Four Seasons community. There's also foundation landscaping for each of the condominium buildings. There's each building lot will have a landscaping plan associated with the single-family home. The stormwater management ponds are landscaped in accord with best management practices as required. So their request today is for major subdivision approval for the 374 single-family lots, and then major site plan for 294 condominiums. The conditions of approval are standard conditions which would regularly see. That any remaining edits be done by the Department of Planning and Zoning to be finally approved. Any bond sureties and inspection fees be posted. All required legal documents must be approved, and then all signatures obtained on all the construction documents and plats. So that's the overview, and turn it over to the applicant for a review, or I'm happy to answer any questions you may have now.
Any questions from the committee? What about you guys up there? Jeff? I think we're fine.
Okay, I'll be around for question and answer once they.
Yeah, don't go for it.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joe Stevens on behalf of K. Hovnanian. Can you hear me okay with this on? I'll keep it on unless you can't hear me, okay? That way, try to be respectful to you and to others in the room.
Greatly appreciated, Mr. Stevens.
Been on a plane recently, and I do get on them quite often, so I want to do that. So anyway, I represent K. Hovnanian Properties for this application, and Steve Cahoon and staff just gave you the presentation, especially pages 1 through 5 in the staff report that I otherwise would have gone through, the history. So I don't think there's any reason for me to do that. He did it quite thoroughly. I think reading those pages 1 through 5 shows you how extensive this project has been reviewed. Critical Area Commission is deeply involved in every phase of this, and if they thought that we were doing anything outside of what they granted approval for or the critical area regulations or law, they would say so. We work very closely with them on every phase. We received a buffer management plan in 2004, approved by the whole commission, not just staff. It had to get voted on by the whole commission, and I've got that letter of approval here if you want it. And this plan is consistent with that. They've said that, staff said that. So with that said, we are going to have a few people speak because Steve did a very thorough job, and I'll tell you who they are so you can direct your questions accordingly. So Barry Griffith with Lane Engineering, he's the president of Lane Engineering, he's a planner. He will go over the land plan, buffers, and things of that nature. Then we'll have Tim Glass, who's also a principal with Lane Engineering and a PE, practicing here on the shore for decades. We'll go over the stormwater management, facilities, sediment, erosion control. Then we have Ken Schmee with Traffic Concepts, who's done an updated traffic study, even though Steve presented to you earlier that we have APF traffic approval. And in fact, that APF traffic approval is for a project with 280 more units. So when you took away the Tanner Farm, the piece that now is Parkland, the traffic and all the mitigation that KHOV agreed to, which Steve listed up there, is for the additional 280. But that's being taken away, and we are providing the mitigation for the same number, that large number of units, even though it's been reduced by about 20%. And then Mike will come up, Mike Irons, and he's just going to talk a little bit about the community and some of the public facilities they're building. And it really shouldn't take that long. We've walked through it a few times, and Steve did such a thorough job. So I'll just ask Barry Griffith to come in right now and give his portion of the presentation. We're keeping people outside and rotating them in, so it might take a second.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Barry Griffith, Lane Engineering. We've been involved with the project since about 2017 and worked on the Phase 2 final plats and plans and also now Phase 3, 4. As Joe said, Steve did a very thorough presentation, so I'm going to try to not be repetitive wherever possible. But I would like to reiterate that Steve's staff report is the culmination of a very extensive amount of review from all county agencies, as well as the Critical Area Commission. And, you know, we certainly do concur at this point in the process that his recommendations that the plat and plans are both consistent with all the prior approvals that Joe mentioned and Steve mentioned for the overall project, as well as all of the current land development rules and regulations which apply to a project of this nature. I would point out that we actually made the submittal for 3-4, all of the engineering plans, site plans, subdivision plats, of which you guys don't see the reams and reams of grading and sediment erosion control and stormwater plans, but they're all looked at by Critical Area Commission, staff, everybody, and it's been a good process. It's taken a long time, but a lot of it was COVID related and delays associated with that, but we're glad to be here today to get to a final approval. This is the overall project, and it's really just a color rendering of what Steve had shown, so I'm going to move past this. And I would point out that you see phase 3-4. Those are really construction phases. This is really a final approval for what is the remainder of the Four Seasons project. Steve already showed you the preliminary plat. We're consistent with that in terms of our layout and our open space and our forest conservation and pretty much everything that was related to the original preliminary plat approval and growth allocation. This is the phase 3-4 final plat, which Steve has described for you what it involves in terms of the number of single-family lots and multifamily parcels and condominium units that go on there, so I'm going to go past that. This is a depiction of the open space that's being dedicated with the or not dedicated, but easemented to the county with the 3-4 plat. So this is a continuation of open spaces that were put under easement in prior phases. A total of which on this particular parcel, which consists of parcels 2, 3, and 4, will now be about 167 acres. There's other open space on the property related to the community center and around the multifamily buildings, but this is the open space that's going to go under protective covenants and easements. It's about double what's required for the project. It's about 167 acres on these two, on this section alone here with phases 2, 3, and 4. Steve already showed you the multifamily parcel, and as he described, we're adding some additional buildings here. You know, these are the same buildings that you see being constructed in phase 1, 4-story buildings, 14 units each. With dedicated parking. There's open space, stormwater features, 150-foot buffer for this particular grouping here on the Chester River. I'd also point out, it's a different orientation. It's the same area. If you'll notice on the left side, there's a planted buffer between this section and the Bayside community. And that buffer was approved up in phase 2, and now it's being extended further in this direction, as you see with that landscaping along the property line. That's a bermed, heavily planted buffer between this condominium area and the Bayside community. This is that northern condominium area, and again, as Steve said, there's another 12 buildings up here. Same kind of layout with stormwater parking, same buildings. And you'll note that on the very northern property line, where we adjoin an existing residential lot, we've also done additional landscape plantings in those areas, and we retain our 150-foot buffer here along the Chester River. I want to point this slide out. This is a area that directly adjoins some Cloverfield lots over on the other side of the property, on the Cox Creek side. And if you look at the top of the page, you'll see where, this is like one of the closest points where the previously approved layout, comes to our overall property perimeter. And mostly we have, 300-foot buffers down further south where Cox Creek is, and we have forest conservation up here along the backside of Cloverfields. But in this one area, we can't really just leave it as forest conservation because we're trying to do some things with grading here to divert some of the runoff from the farm towards Cloverfields. And as a result, we have to clear in here, and we're going to replant with a double row of evergreen, southern magnolia and cedars, and a 6-foot high privacy fence to try to provide some buffering between the backyards of a couple or 2 or 3 Cloverfield lots in this area. Just for reference, so you can see it, there's that stub road that goes to the north or up the page. That's the emergency access to Ackerman. So that's only for emergency use, but it's a requirement of the project. This is the other small area where we get close to Cloverfields, and we've got the same kind of buffer being proposed there to provide screening between the Cloverfield homes and the Four Seasons homes. At the top of this, you see a little bit of a cross section that shows you, that would be the Four Seasons home, and you see the fence and then the plantings and in between there and there. We are aware that there's, we're under construction. Phase 1 is well on its way to build out. Phase 2, the site infrastructure's going in, the foundation's in on the clubhouse. And work is starting in Phase 2 with some of the necessary clearing that's always been anticipated to get to our final sort of woodland and forest protection status. So what I'm trying to show you with this slide is that, there's been a lot of natural regeneration that the developer and the property owners have allowed to occur since this project started in 2004. For a couple reasons. One, they wanted to go ahead and get a jump start on those wooded buffers and let them start to come in that they knew were going to be a part of the project. And 2, they didn't really want to go start clearing trees prematurely. But now that we're into construction, we're starting to see some of the clearing in Phase 2, and we're going to have some additional clearing in Phase 3. This exhibit is to show you that this is what the wooded condition of Parcel 7 and the Tanner Farm looked like back in 2004. So that was the extent of the woodlands that existed on these properties back then. That red line represents what is now the required buffers on both Parcel 7, which is Phases 2 through 4, as well as the Tanner Farm. So you can see there really wasn't a lot.
As the water conveys down gradient?
That's correct.
Fantastic, thank you. That's all I had, Madam Chair. If you're waiting on
Okay.
me.
Any other questions? There being none?
Thank you. I'm going to ask Ken Smead, the traffic consultant.
Thank you.
to come in. So these presentations get shorter. Not that Ken
This is
was- I didn't think Ken was
pretty
wrong.
deadly.
Sorry?
This is pretty deadly.
Nothing else. I'll just, as a prelude to Mr. Smead's review, he's just going to review for you the updated traffic analysis and compare that data for you to what was projected to flow from Four Seasons and other projects on Kent Island in 2004 when the APF was approved. And he's going to show you that the projections from 2004 for development in the pipeline and growth and the Four Seasons are significantly conservative compared to what's played out today. That's really the whole purpose. Could you introduce yourself?
My name is Ken Schmid. I'm with the company Traffic Concepts. We've been involved in the Four Seasons project since, I think, 1998, and involved in all the traffic impact studies to date for that project and negotiations with the county and the state and to get it approved and from a traffic standpoint. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the APFO traffic impact study requirements.
Yeah, they're pretty familiar.
You want me to go into that a little bit, Joe?
Go into that? Nope, go ahead.
You just promised that your presentation gets shorter as you guys come in here.
I think you focus on what you
Yeah,
found with
okay, well, basically, we did the formal traffic impact study as part of the original preliminary plan approval. And the study that established APF approvals in 2004. And it assumed 1,350 units. And we prepared the traffic impact study in accordance with the county guidelines. County guidelines set up what methodology I use to calculate capacity, what information I use is background development. Background development consists of projects in the area that are active but not yet built. And it also includes something called regional growth. And regional growth is in the county law that says you're required to add 2 years of 2% growth for every year up to the build out of the site. So the original 2004 study projected a 12-year build out for this site. So we added basically 25% increase in traffic flow. Now, there's always been some discussion about regional traffic on Route 18 and Route 8. It really doesn't make much sense that there's regional traffic. Regional traffic increases are along 50 corridor. So regional traffic is basically that traffic that is generated outside of the study area, but travels through. So a development in Annapolis and a housing development in Queenstown, that's regional traffic because it's those people are going to work up across the bridge, and that's regional growth. That doesn't happen on 18 and Route 8. Route 8's a dead-end road, so there's no regional traffic in and out of the island. And for the most part,
Speak up so they can hear you.
and for the most part, it doesn't occur much on 18 or 8. So what we found with our updated studies, we've done updated studies for Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 just to test that the improvements that we proposed are still mitigating the impact of development since it was so long ago. And that was the request for the county. So we did those studies, and we consistently showed that the projected volumes in the 2004 study were never met. And the levels of service now are much better than they were projected in 2004. I believe that has all to do with regional growth. It just didn't occur, and that was the most significant thing we added. Background developments along the corridor, unless it's a huge development right next to your site, it's not going to have a great impact. If you have say a Safeway store that built over on the other side of the bridge over there, it'll have somewhat of an impact on Cass Marina Road and some of those in the Route 8 corridor, but not as much. It doesn't really have that big impact. And so I surmise that the extra traffic we assumed in 2004 has to go back to the regional growth. For the studies we've done, we updated counts. The last counts we did here were 2019, before COVID. So we had counts in the fall of 2019 as part of COVID. And so we had some pretty accurate counts to do the study on. And the result was, when we went through the project, that the intersections all are operating at much better levels of service than the future was predicted. And that is consistent with Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 and 4 study. This is just an example. We made a couple charts to give you an example of what we're talking about. So the first chart here is a weekday time period. It the first two columns is the AM peak hour, the second two columns is the PM peak hour. And what we try to do is to show you what we predicted in background levels of service in 2004. So that would be the existing counts, the background developments, and the regional growth added. And we compared that to the existing critical lane volume at these intersections. And you can see that the critical lane volumes under 220 are existing are much lower, which is better, than they were predicted in the 2004 study. And that, again, has to do with the fruition of the background developments, the 24% added as part of the regional growth. And AM is a little more volatile than PM. Traffic flows through intersections vary from 3 to 5% on a daily basis, depending on when people leave early or late. So there is some fluctuation, but this is just to give you the overall big look at what the difference is. PM, you can see that the PM volumes are a little more static, and they're pretty more they don't vary as much, and you can see, but still, the 2004 background, which didn't include any of Four Seasons impact, you would have thought that would have been all built out by now. And we show our existing volumes, and we're a good level service or better in terms of critical lane. Another way we looked at it is we looked at the full build out in the 2000.
Four Seasons. Four Seasons full build out.
Yeah, the full build out of Four Seasons. So we predicted the impact. The other background didn't have any impact from Four Seasons. So this is the 2004 full build out predicted, and this is the 2020 phase 3-4, which includes phase 1 and 2. This is the whole impact of Four Seasons, and you can see the critical lane volume that was calculated for in the 2020 study and the fall in the 2004 study. And again, you can see a lot of these intersections just didn't have that regional growth. When you talk about 25% to 100,000 cars, that's 250 trips. That's almost 2 levels of service from a critical lane standpoint. Some of these intersections.
I'm just a little confused over this. The 2004 full build out. Why are the numbers different in the two?
Between 2004 and 2020?
No, 2004 and 2004.
One,
You have two columns that are
one's AM and
2004.
one's
1 AM,
PM.
PM, okay.
Okay.
The first column is AM and the second column is PM.
Okay,
That's why
okay.
they're different.
Yeah, the columns are labeled a little differently than from that previous slide.
So Ken, and then with the full build out now, which is less than what was projected in 2004, by some 280 some odd units, all the intersections operate at levels of service still acceptable even under today's APF?
Yes, and this study was reviewed and reviewed and reviewed 1,000 times before 2004. We had private consultants reviewing this that people hired. We had the state, the county. We had commissioners hired a independent consultant to review the traffic impact study. And frankly, that came back with a glowing report that our study was very conservative and overestimated trips.
And now this doesn't account for what happens during summertime?
No, I mean, obviously, we have issues, regional issues during the summer times. We've looked at Saturday off-peak, meaning not in the summer, and they work better than the PM peak, so everything's still at an A or B or C level of service. During summer, the county asked us to actually count the summer traffic on a July weekend, and we did. And we showed all A levels of service. But that's
Really?
because nobody could flow through the intersection. It's
Exactly.
gridlocked.
That was the irony of the whole traffic study. It showed everything was fine
But-
because people weren't moving fast.
Because
I was going to say, when you're sitting there, there's a traffic problem.
It doesn't hit the counter.
No, they don't, they're gridlocked, we sort of knew that was going to be the result of this, and we plainly stated in our report that these are not accurate levels of service calculations, and we know that there are failures
Right.
along this corridor when the Route 50. But that's a super regional problem, and frankly, I think the state has to have a little more responsibility in what they've done, because they promote the beach traffic, they promote, and they've done some things. They've tried to spread out the impacts of people coming and going and trying to leave later. there's always talk about this third bridge. I don't know if that's ever going to take off, but I think there's still some things that the county, the state and the county can do. I know they've tried to shut off some of the access roads, but the state's against that legally. I don't buy that because they set up detours all the time for construction, so I'm not sure I believe that convenient, but that's the state's opinion. I think other things can be done too, looking at spreading out that Ocean City impact.
Yeah,
Why can't we have a Wednesday to
That's a
Wednesday?
whole different ball of wax.
So we're not saying that Four Seasons, these people are gonna act like the rest of the Kent Island residents and learn to sort of stay local on Saturday and Sunday, big time traffic. But the result is that we've overestimated, all our improvements are in place. They far more than mitigated our impact, our actual impact. So it sort of shows that our 2004 study was accurate.
Any questions?
Mike,
Okay.
Ryan, just kind of
Thank
give
you
an
very
overview
much.
of the
Thank
site.
you.
Thank you,
We
Ken.
are going to take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
Work.
Right, Ted, you good?
There you go.
We are back in session.
Great. My name is Mike Irons. I'm the division president for QACTV Homes. I'm also Queen Anne's County resident. Appreciate your time to present today. Appreciate your service to the county. Going to give you a brief update on the community, what's going on at the community right now. As you know, Barry and Mr. Kuhn mentioned, Phase 1, you can see this aerial picture of Phase 1 looking back is largely built out. We're selling a few more homes in there, but we're largely finished in Phase 1, and we're actively developing in Phase 2. Despite, the pandemic, the housing market has been very strong for us, which is great. You can see we have 164 of the homes sold to date. We've delivered 108 to happy homeowners, and we have 35 homes under construction. We're selling at a pretty brisk rate, like over 10 a month. 10 homes we're selling per month. And with that, volume, we've been able to add some, new employees and new teammates for our construction team. We've recently brought on 2 new construction managers, both of them Queen Anne's County residents, which we're happy to support the county and provide jobs here. So right now, of our sales and construction and management teams, over half of them are Queen Anne's County residents, I'm happy to say. So just as a projection, our projection for this year is to deliver over 100 homes here per year, and it will continue to grow as we go through the community. Here you can see our model home court. We have 4 decorated models. They've been in place since 2018. They're staffed 7 days a week. We have 3 full-time sales associates manning those models on a daily basis. I'm going to show you some of the pictures of our homes. Well, first of all, I'm going to show you, here's an overview of the entry of our community, one of our stormwater features. This is taken from Castle Marina Road, looking back into Phase 1. You can see our homes there. Another one of the entrance monument going into Phase 1. So here's a picture of these homes. These are the homes that we're building in Phase 1. These will be consistent through Phase 2 and 3. All of our homes are designed with the active adult, age-restricted buyer in mind. They're single-story living with owner's bedrooms on the first floor and very few steps. They range in size from 1,400 square feet up to 3,500 square feet. Here's a couple pictures of a few of them. This is the Clarney. It's one of our best sellers. It's right around 2,000 square feet, 2 bedrooms with home office, very popular size for for our buyer here. I'd like to say also that our sales in Phase 2 have gone very well, and just the average sales price of our single-family homes in Phase 2, our last 30 sales, is $625,000. So we're bringing a very quality home to the county, and a great tax benefit for the county as well. Moving on, here's a picture of one of our completed condominium buildings in Phase 1. As mentioned previously, it's a 14-unit building. It has garages. Each unit has its own garage, served by a central elevator. The units are very luxurious, from 2,000 square feet up to 2,600 square feet. And they average in sales price around $450,000 to $500,000. Our homes have won many awards from the Maryland Home Builders Association. Here's a picture of a couple of our awards. Four Seasons is our brand name. It's a national brand name for us, and it's about active lifestyle. And right now, our community, we have a full-time lifestyle director on staff at our community every day. She plans events, clubs, and different things going on for our residents to participate in. There's Mahjong Club, walking clubs, there's a whole bunch of clubs, card games. They do a whole bunch of activities, holiday parties.
What are you doing without the clubhouse?
Well, they do it. Some of those events we have in our model homes.
Okay.
We have a small gym in our model, and then a lot of it's outside. They play pickleball at the local parks, play tennis. So they utilize the local facilities. But great segue into here's a picture of our clubhouse that we have under construction. It's a 24,000 square foot clubhouse. It has an indoor pool, big outdoor pool, pier. It's a great facility, a premier facility for this area. Obviously on the water, we'll have outdoor amphitheater, sports courts, tennis courts, pickleball courts, things like that, fire pits. So this is, a great facility. It's under construction. It was approved part of Phase 2. We plan to have it done in May of 2022. It'll take us about almost a year and a half to build it. We're just coming out of the ground with it right now. Many of our residents, if you remember the Phase 2 hearing that we had here last a year or so ago, your room was filled with our supporters and homeowners. Unfortunately, they couldn't attend today because of the pandemic, but I think hopefully they'll be able to connect and provide some comment virtually here today. And, it's important to them and it's important to us that this community, that we achieve this final approval so that they can see this community be completed and along with their amenity that's under construction. So hopefully they'll be able to chime in and provide some comment. Here's an aerial view of Phase 3 and 4. This is what, this is an artist rendering, kind of showing what, how the, condominium units will be arranged and the single families and all the open space that Tim and Barry spoke about. And you can see some of the stormwater features. You can see the amenity in the background. This is looking from the north, looking back towards the south. As mentioned, the DRRA, our DRA is a big important document for us, and we've completed many of the obligations in the DRRA. Here's a picture of the roundabout at 18 in Casa Marina Road. That's been complete. You can see the cost of that was $1.1 million. Here's a roundabout at Casa Marina and our entrance. That cost us about $800,000, is also complete. There's a hiker-biker trail that we built along Castle Marina that goes and connects ultimately to the Cross Island Trail. It's heavily used by the existing residents of Bayside, Queen Landing, as well as our residents to go up and connect to the Cross Island Trail. That work is also complete. Some turn lanes on and off of Piney Creek Road. Those turn lanes are complete. You can see them in the picture. The water tower has become a landmark for us. That was complete early on in the community and serves, the whole Kent Island water system, not just Four Seasons. A large pump station we built serves our community as well as many of the other communities on Kent Island and in the Castle Marina Road area. That facility is complete, cost us $1.6 million. We built a sewer line basically 3 miles across the entire Kent Island from our community. It picks up Cloverfields, Bayside, Queens Landing. That cost us $2.6 million. Here's an aerial picture of the parkland dedication that Mr. Kuhn spoke about, the 130 acres that were dedicated to the county. We also forfeited 20% of our approved 271 units were forfeited when we dedicated this to the county. It's conveniently located on the Cross Island Trail. It's a waterfront property. It's bound on 2 sides by Cox Creek. It's a great property, but it's been deeded to the county for a eco park. We're also under construction for a Cross Island Trailhead Park. This is a parking lot and access for the Cross Island Trail. You can see in this aerial picture, the parking lot is already complete. It's located right along, this is on Piney Creek Road. You can see the Cross Island Trail right there. This is going to be a facility for county, public facility that we're going to dedicate to the county, 6.5 acres. Includes a parking lot and a restroom facility, which we're going to build this year for residents to park and get on the trail with their bikes or walk. So it'll be a nice park. It'll also have a trail down to Macomb Creek, where and that's all land that we're going to dedicate to the county when it's complete. Contributions to the Kent Island Fire Department. So far, we've dedicated $438,000 to the volunteer fire department. And in addition to that, our residents each pay $10 per month as part of their association dues. That goes on in perpetuity. Once at build out, it's $129,000 a year that the fire department will get from our residents. Here's a check, the picture of us giving the check to Jody Schultz, the president of the fire department, the last $100,000 that we just dedicated to them at the end of 2020. The fire truck in the rear, Jody explained to me, is a rescue truck that all of our contributions helped them purchase. In addition to those improvements, there's several above and beyond payments that our company has made to the county. First was a $1 million payment at phase 1 approval. That's been done. At our 400th building permit, we'll give another $350,000 for some road improvements at 18 and 552. And in addition, we pay $77.50 per home with impact fees. So you can see what that is per, we paid over $2 million to date, and we're getting new building permits every day. And it gets up to $10.8 million. Lastly, probably our largest next big DRA commitment that we've completed the design of is a water treatment plant that will be built behind the Kent Island Elementary School near the library. It's on county property. We've been working with the sanitary district staff going through the review and design of that building and facility. You can see the cost of it is very significant at $8.6 million, includes a big industrial well. This is a much needed facility and will serve, like the water tower, will serve a greater Kent Island water service area. And like Mr. Kuhn mentioned, this will be built as part of phase 2, 3, and 4. So when you add all those up, it's over $32 million worth of DRRA commitments. This is things that are above and beyond. This does not include anything on site. This is all off-site work that would normally be, not normally be with the development of this. It doesn't include our on-site streets, any of that, none of our on-site stormwater management. This is all benefit that benefits the county as a whole. And this is the most important thing, is where we are, we've completed almost $15 million of those DRA commitments. So we're at 45% of that total value, and we're only 10% occupied. Just over 100 homes have been occupied. So Hovnanian, we've put out a significant amount of capital to continue and to build this project, and it's important that we receive this final approval so we can finish completing the community as well as also the remaining DRRA commitments. And lastly, the last thing I want to mention, go back to the stormwater items that Tim Glass spoke about, about oversizing. If you remember, he talked about that we significantly oversized, almost 300% oversized our stormwater and sediment basins to have extra volume and capacity during some of these big rain events that we've had. In addition to that, we have implemented this rain for rent system in all of our stormwater ponds. And what it does is we capture as much water, all the water we can in our stormwater ponds, and then we run it through a filter system. We literally filter the stormwater in our stormwater ponds. So we pump it out of the ponds, it goes through these blue tanks, there's a flocculant that's added to help remove sediment, and we discharge that water in our outfalls, and it comes out very, very clear. The purpose of it is the filtration is to remove the suspended sediments, and it comes out and we discharge it as clear as it's coming out of the sky. So you can see the number on there. We have it's monitored and measured. It's very scientific. It's part of all of our approved plans. We've filtered 198 million gallons of water since we started the Four Seasons community at a cost of $3.7 million. So just an extra level of protection to ensure, the protection of the environment and the Macomb Creek and the Chester River and Cox Creek. I don't have anything any further. Once again, I appreciate your time and allowing us to present to you today.
Hey, any questions for Mike?
Sure, Mr. Irons, thank you for that presentation. With respect to the pier that's on Chester River, obviously that's not, for boat slips necessarily for your clientele. It's one pier for a 1,000 home. So is that just sort of a public, a community amenity for access? I mean, that's big water. You and I both know what that can do to boats. So is that sort of how you envision that aspect?
It's a transient. It has 10 transient slips, so it's not intended for overnight docking. It's 450 feet long approximately. It's part of our tidal wetland license approval. It's for transient docking. It's for our residents to walk out, fish on, crab on. They can pull in with their boat, maybe pick up some friends, drop off, tie up for a few minutes, jump in the pool up at the clubhouse, and then go back on their boat. But it's not intended for overnight docking. They will not be leased slips at all. We're encouraging many of our residents, and I think many of them already do, are using the commercial marinas in the Kent Narrows area with their boats.
The community adjacent to you has those long breakwaters. I mean, that's obviously not a pleasant place to be on any kind of windy aspect with the fetch.
Yeah,
so just curious as to sort of what the end goal for the community was to have that, and certainly access to the resources is an important aspect of the lifestyle that your community purports. So I just curious as to sort of how that looked in the future.
Any other questions? Any questions from up there?
My question, Sharon, is what is different from what was approved?
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, you have to identify yourself.
Okay, this is Art Keepersburg. The question I would pose is, what is really different from the prior approved program that the county said go ahead, go forward, put in all the things that you've discussed and identified? Is there anything significantly different than what you were given the go ahead to put it in place?
No, Commissioner. Everything is, aside from, slight engineering differences throughout the site, everything is exactly the same as approved, except for the density is 271 units less because the Tanner piece is no longer part of it. But that layout is what was laid out and approved through growth allocation in 2001, as part of the DRRA in 2002, and then as part of the preliminary subdivision site plan approval in 2004. So everything has been laid out almost precisely as to what was proposed, and there's no additional units, and there's no change in the breakdown between multifamily condos and single families. They stay exactly the same.
Well, they've decreased because you gave property, and then you've increased your amenities. So
yes, that has. But I mean, there's no what was shown on phases 1, 2, 3, and 4 to be, I think, X number of condos and X number of single families in 2004 is the same thing today.
That's what my question was. Is there anything that materially changed what you proceeded forward with as having an understanding that if you did this, then you would get your approvals as you were going forward?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
any other questions?
I'll go back to your filtration system. What do you actually filter out, and what do you do with what you filter out?
Sure, that's a great question. So what we're filtering out is, during construction, there's a lot of exposed ground. So when, we get a rain event, that rain, conveys some of the sediment in the water, it goes into our sediment basin. So what we're filtering out is the suspended sediments. Like there's a lot of clay soils on Kent Island. It's very fine. It doesn't settle out readily. It takes a lot of time to settle out. So we're trying to accelerate that process to get the water clean and get that sediment out of the water.
You're basically just collecting sediment, you know.
That's correct, sediment. And then your answer, the answer to your question is what, so once that filtration process is complete, all those sediments are in the bottom of those big blue tanks. There's baffles in that tank and allows the flocculant to help accelerate that coagulation and settlement of that sediment. And it's vacuumed out. It's vacuumed out and taken to the dump, or sometimes we do put it on site in common areas and things like that. It's just sediment. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, open for discussion.
Public comment.
Public comment?
We do have 2 people here for public comment.
Okay.
First is Mr. Roy Smoot.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please come up, introduce yourself, and
Yes, very good.
so we can hear you with the microphone.
Excellent, thank you. Most people don't have a problem with my voice. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. I was here at the last public hearing.
For Hovnanian.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Planning and zoning, yes. And my wife and I occupied the 5th home built in the neighborhood. So we have 22 months or more, about 22 months experience living in the neighborhood. I would say that our experience in working with Four Seasons in the community has been nothing but stellar. They underpromise, overdeliver. If I have a problem, I feel perfectly comfortable going to Mike. Know that it's going to be fixed. You know, I've had trees that were planted and, you know, they die, they get replaced. The community, I do construction, I work for Habitat for Humanity, so I know a little about home building, but my wife and I take our dog around the neighborhood at least 3 times a day, so I see myself as sort of the building inspector and watch the construction as it is going on. One of the cleanest job sites I've ever seen. The community is very well maintained. The issue of traffic, well, you know, the only time we have problems with traffic is in the community when we have all of these contractors coming in building these homes. But over the 22 months, they built 100 homes. And they're built quickly, but they're built well because they're a very well coordinated system. And they move from one to the other to the other. The amenities that people talked about, we bought when the amenities were not approved. When phase 2 and the amenities had not been approved, with the understanding that looking at what we were seeing, we knew what would happen because of what we had seen. I do make use, I'll leave here and go back to the model and get on the exercise bike because they've tried to provide some sort of bridge to when those amenities are available. The other time,
Your time's up.
I'm sorry, you see, I'm a bit of an enthusiast.
But that's great.
But I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to watching the progress.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Jody Schultz, who is waiting for us in the hallway.
Morning, Jody Schultz, Kent Island. I guess I'm really here with 2 hats on. I just wanted to thank Mike and Four Seasons for their contributions to the Kent Island Volunteer Fire Department. He had showed you a slide that showed the contributions that they've made, which helped us to purchase our rescue truck.
You don't need to wear that if you...
Which helped us to purchase our rescue truck. It sounded like a lot of money, which it was in his slide, but that new rescue truck cost us over $1 million. So without that contribution, we probably wouldn't have been able to replace that truck as quickly as we had. That was 30 years old. So we want to thank them for that. And we try not to get into the habit of, giving our support or whatever to developments. We don't really live in that world. But the fact is that when they bring those many people, and which is traffic and homes and to our area, that we have to account for that. And we meet often about all the stuff that's going on Kent Island, and the fact that they stepped up early on. I mean, years ago, they stepped up early on, and we worked out this contribution to us. Really said a lot about them, and they've met all their obligations. And we've actually been able to raise the contributions from the homeowners association from where we started, because the project was delayed so much. So that's just going to help us continue to be able to provide our services and replace our equipment. And it's particularly important now with COVID, and our fundraisers have been pretty much eliminated. All fire departments' fundraisers have been eliminated. So we really want to thank Mike and his group for acknowledging, and it's just a good example how, the local fire departments and developers can work together. So I want to thank him for that. So as a local resident and business person, I just see Four Seasons as being a big addition to our community financially. Those people are going to go to the local hardware stores, the restaurants. They're also, in my opinion, going to contribute to all the nonprofits that we all try to support, the hospices and the Chester Wides and all these groups now that are also suffering. So it's my experience with those types of people in that age and that development, they really understand at that point in their life how important it is to give back. We're hoping to get some of those people as auxiliary members of our department. So, I hope you, in that respect, approve their last two phases. I think they've been beat up enough for the last 20 years and certainly weathered the storm. And I look forward to not a half-completed project, but a completed project. I think they've certainly passed the smell tests, at least for most of us. So, thank you. Yep. Sorry. Thank you.
Next it's Steve, correct? Steve Donovan.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning.
Sure. Well, I like what Jody said. Can you just repeat what he said and just put that in for me? Steve Donovan. I served 3 terms on Economic Development Commission, just came off of that. Business Queen Anne's. We're in a bizarre virtual world like everybody else right now. We've been supportive of this project since I got over in this area, 2007. All the reasons Jody said as an individual resident, what Four Seasons will bring. But on a personal level, me driving down, every time I go down that way, I drive through and just look what's going on. And it's clean, it's moving well, it's moving consistently, all their promises. Every time I see the information that's put up there about how much they've contributed above and beyond, not just money, but things for the environment, the stormwater, that type of thing. I mean, everything I see is somebody that wants to be here, make it the best thing they've got, and use it as a showcase for their business. So very supportive of it, want to continue to be that way. I think it's a plus. And then Jody's whole last part from being the individual resident, just put that in for me too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce,
Great.
next.
Ready to move on to Zoom. I just want to let everyone know we do have 50 people almost waiting in Zoom, and we only have 9 people signed up for comment. So if you still would like to make comment, please turn on your video and at least raise your hand. Let us know that you're there, unless you've already spoken to Chris and he's cleared you. So we're going to get started with our first, which is Mr. Robert Baylor. I'm going to ask you to unmute, and please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Robert Baylor. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Excellent. All right. I am the, wow, that picture looks bad. Anyway, I am the homeowner service director for Condominium Homes, and I deal with a lot of the homeowners in the community, and I know how I hear about all the exciting things. And usually we deal with all the problems with homes, little repairs and stuff like that. But you always get into these side discussions about the community, and they really are looking forward to seeing this community get to where it needs to go and to completion. So they're very excited. They do talk to us a lot about the community, and that's something that I did want to throw out there. It's also very important to me and my staff, the trades that work in there, the jobs that they have, the materials that we get. It's really good for the economy. So that's all I really had to say. It's not much, but I think it's a valid point.
Thank you. All right, next, we're going to move to Jason Smith. Please introduce yourself, Jason. Ask you to unmute.
My name is Jason Smith. Good morning, Commissioners. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, my name is Jason Smith. I'm a Queen Anne's County resident, live in Sudlersville. I not only live and play in Queen Anne's County, but K. Hovnanian's Four Seasons project has allowed me and my company, Dennison Landscaping, the opportunity to work in Queen Anne's County. In addition to working there, we also hire local labor from Queen Anne's County to support that project. I am in support of the approval of phases 3 and 4 of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we're going to move on to Stephanie Faust. I'm going to ask you to unmute, Stephanie.
Good morning/afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Faust. I am the Homeowner Service Manager for the Kent Island community. So yes, of course, I am here to speak in support and on behalf of the continued development with K. Hovnanian. I have been lucky enough to have been part of this project for quite some time, worked directly with all my homeowners. So I'm going to let them speak for themselves this afternoon, because I know some of them are waiting in chat rooms to call to talk. But I will say, of course, as well as having a job there, we are kind of a Kent Island family. Four Seasons is very important to continue the growth. I've met some of the kindest and most wonderful people, and it is an asset that I'm very proud to be part of, and a family that I'm very proud to be part of, to work and continue to work and possibly retire either to or from my wonderful community and Kent Island people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Dylan Allen. I'm going to ask you to unmute, please, Dylan.
Hi, my name is Dylan Allen. I am the newest Assistant Community Construction Manager here at K. Hovnanian. I think this is a great opportunity for the whole community. It's not only helping people who work for K. Hovnanian, but all the subcontractors and then the community around it. I think it's a great thing for the Eastern Shore and the surrounding areas, and I'm 100% in support of this. That's really all I have. I know it's not much, but at the same time, I think it's a great point, and it's going to help the community tremendously.
Thank you. All right, next up is going to be Annie Richards. I've asked you to unmute, Annie.
He's at Queen Anne's County High School.
Richards. Good morning. I'm new to this position. I'm the Chester River Keeper for Shore Rivers. However, my predecessor captured numerous photos of major sediment runoff into the Chester and its tributaries during phase 1 and 2 of the construction of these communities. So I urge the commissioners to tighten regulations and surveillance regarding best management practices for construction runoff management in 3rd and 4th phases. I've also submitted a written testimony, so I won't repeat anything that I have submitted previous to this hearing. I'm merely speaking to things that have arisen during the meeting at hand. The clearing of established woodlands to make room for stormwater management techniques does not seem reasonable in an island that has been, so developed, and we've lost so much wetlands already, which is necessary transitional area to absorb the numerous stormwater runoff effects that are going to result from the expansion of this community. And everything else that I have to say about this is submitted in my written testimony.
Thank you. All right, next is going to be Dylan Simmons. Can you please unmute,
Good morning,
Dylan?
my name is, yep.
Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Dylan Simmons, and I work in the sales center at Four Seasons at Kent Island selling the condominiums. I'm very grateful for the opportunity that has presented me and my family. Mike Irons and the rest of the management do a great job at just providing a happy and safe work environment. And I also have the pleasure of speaking with the homeowners of the community on a daily basis, so I know they're very, very excited for phases 3 and 4. And I'll keep it short because I know we have a lot of people talking, but yeah, very grateful for the opportunity, and I look forward to phase 3 and 4.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. All right, next up is going to be Gene Wagbo. I'm going to ask you to unmute, please, Gene.
Great. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Jean Wagbo, and I'm a resident of Bayside. I seem to be in the minority representing here today, but thanks to the commissioners and for all of the presentations, which had a really nice level of detail. I submitted questions earlier, and one of those questions related to traffic study, if it had been updated. So I was glad to hear when the presentation began that the traffic study had been updated. And then I was aghast. In 2020, it was updated during a pandemic when people were working remotely, schools were closed, businesses closed, restaurants closed, people were asked to be home. How can that be taken seriously, that traffic count? We have a safety issue along Castle Marina. Now there's a boulevard. There's high curbs. When we need emergency vehicles to come back here on days that there's gridlock or heavy traffic around the Route 8 Castle Marina Circle, how will vehicles get back to reach us? I just want the county to start taking this traffic issue seriously.
Ma'am, I think Mr. Schmid testified that the updated traffic counts were from 2019.
2019, but then you mentioned 2020. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, thank you for your clarification. You had me going. The other thing I wanted to say is that I really, as far as I understand, the DRRA expires in 2022, where phase 3 and phase 4 would not have begun yet. So I think that the county needs to reconsider engaging in approving this before the DRRA is renegotiated. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is going to be from Steve. I apologize, Steve, there's no last name, but could you please introduce yourself and unmute?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Steve Layden here. I live at 309 Windsor Avenue in Centerville. I'm going to just read a prepared statement, otherwise I tend to ramble a little bit. So speaking as the project manager for Macron for Four Seasons Phase 1, I'd just like to say that this is one of the projects I'm most proud to be associated with. QACTV has been a pleasure to work with because they're knowledgeable and willing to do what it takes to build a quality product. I think the results are evident in what they've built so far. Speaking as a resident of Queen Anne's County, I welcome the expansion of the project because it brings in the type of residents that we need in the county, and the money they spend will support our local businesses and trades. I believe the infrastructure improvements and financial contributions they have made and continue to make will offset the negative impacts from development. The developer's gone over and above the local and state regulations and has kept up their side of the DRRA. It's important for the county to follow through on its commitments as well. So I respectfully ask that you vote to approve this project. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment comes from Rebecca Mazzullo. I'm going to ask you to unmute, please. Are you there, Rebecca? All right, we can come back to Rebecca if we want. After I do, she was the last one on Zoom, but I do have some emails.
Well, let's go through the emails and then we'll try Rebecca one
Sure
more
thing.
time.
Okay. Our first email today comes from Gail Worley. I represent Treadstone Hardscapes LLC. We are a small business in QAC and have spoken in favor in the past for the development. We continue our support of this development in the next phases. They're following guidelines required by the county and are bringing well-needed income to the county and small businesses. Our next email comes from Mark Steeman. My name is Mark Steeman. 20 years ago, I signed the DRRA on behalf of KOVinian. Over the years, KOVinian has honored every commitment made to QAC. The positive fiscal impact for the county cannot be overstated. I respectfully recommend the Commission approve the final phases of this first-class community. Our next comment is from Eric Boone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Boone. I am the project manager for Gaines & Company, Inc. We are contracted as one of the major site development firms for Phase 2 of the Four Seasons project. We are also the selected contractor for Phase 1. Of our 260 employees company-wide, 3 of our mainline crew leaders and several laborers and operators reside in the local county and other areas of Maryland's Eastern Shore. Our current company vice president resides in Chestertown, Maryland. The project has proven in the past to be an important part of our business plan and annual revenue. Most importantly, we continue to provide local revenue to other trade subcontractors in the immediate area who supply services and materials such as labor and equipment, sand and aggregate products, and many other site and infrastructure-related materials. We continue to support local businesses such as hotels for weekly lodging, local delis for daily lunches, and restaurants for evening meals during overnight stays. I would like to point out that the project comes with challenges during adverse weather patterns. This summer alone had its moments, to say the least. I commend our crews and especially the development team and their environmental support contractors. The continuing efforts to protect the critical outfall areas and tributaries have been outstanding. The project team has repeatedly maintained an above-average standard with the local and state-level inspection agencies. We firmly believe that this is an extremely important task for the current and future phases, and many steps above local and state requirements are in place to continue the protection of the environment. On behalf of the Four Seasons development team and our workforce, please continue to support the approval for Phase 3 and 4. The approval allows the project to continue to be successful for all involved. Our next email comes from Alton McIntosh. Greetings to all, and thanks for relaying my comments. My name is Alton McIntosh, 321 South Lake Drive, Stevensville, Maryland. As a QAC resident of over 30 years, I continue to be supportive of all the full competition of this project. I think it is a shining example of what true planned growth can look like, and those visitors using the Cross Island Trail get this great takeaway from our county. I appreciate the patience that KOVinian has extended to QAC through all the numerous delays to moving forward with our project. Aside from the KOVinian property investment, there was a firehouse, a water tower, a road improvement, and much more that has benefited many county residents. I also believe that upon completion, the stormwater runoff from this property into local creeks and rivers will ultimately be less than the farm that once worked this land. I have spoken of this project many times among my fellow county residents, and they now represent the silent majority who agree QAC made the right moves allowing construction to move ahead. A small group of anti-growth residents have abused and exhausted the QAC courts and appeals process, and I sincerely ask that my tax dollars not go towards allowing them to continue. Thanks, I appreciate my voice being heard. Our next email comes from Heather Williamson, and she has an attached PDF. 1 second. Okay, great. Still like me to read it aloud, though?
We've seen it.
Okay,
so.
no problem. Then our next email is going to come from Angela Rice. Actually, it comes from Chris Toller. Sorry. Chris Toller.
Okay.
Since the start of the KOVinian Kent Island Four Seasons community, we have been able to hire local labor versus bringing labor and employees from the other side of the bridge. I have also been able to work in Kent Island myself instead of driving over the bridge daily for work. This brings added revenue to the local economy and small businesses in the area. Thank you for your time and consideration. Our final email comes from Ken Baxter. Greetings. Our names are Ken and Stephanie Baxter. My wife and I recently contracted to have a house built in the Four Seasons subdivision. My family has been a part of Kent Island for over 60 years. My uncle, Captain Earl Seward, built Seward's Marina, which included the Poseidon Inn and Restaurant Inn. There were the days when we could go gunning up for ducks, go rock fishing in the Narrows, and tong for oysters, and finish the day with a cold beverage at the Kent Island Yacht Club, Elks Club, or American Legion off Route 8, depending on the preference at the time. But times have changed. We were originally opposed to the development proposed by KOVinian over 20 years ago, but as you age, your attitude towards progress and development change. My wife and I recently sold our Eastern Bay waterfront house in Romacoke to our daughter. We were just too old. I am now 71 years of age. to keep up the house, the land, and the pier. We also own buildable land in Kent Island Estates, but decided not to build. We will be on a private well and septic and too far away from basic services such as grocery stores and medical facilities. In order to stay on the island, we needed to find a subdivision which catered to seniors. Four Seasons fits the lifestyle we were looking for, so we contracted to have a new house built with delivery scheduled towards the end of May. There are a lot of families and friends in the area who are now at the age when they need to gravitate towards a low-maintenance lifestyle while still remaining in the area they love. The timing is right for a subdivision like Four Seasons to be built to serve those seniors who now require this type of maintenance-free lifestyle. We looked at other options such as Delaware and Florida. Those two states have succeeded in supplying the housing needs for seniors. With Four Seasons meeting our needs, we decided to stay in the area. Please approve Phase 3 and Phase 4 so that others in the area of Queen Anne's County and folks coming from outside the area will have the option to live on Kent Island. Thanks. That concludes our emails. I'm going to come back over and try Rebecca Mazzula one more time. Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to unmute once more, if you could please. You there, Rebecca?
Okay.
Right. And we did have one more as I was doing emails, Ad. We do have Lolita Watkins, if she's there. So if Lolita, if you're there, could you please make comment?
I am here. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lolita Justice Watkins. I am a resident of Queen Anne's County, as well as an employee of Four Seasons at Kent Island. My husband and I moved here from Howard County more than 15 years ago, and for 10 of those years, I commuted across the Bay Bridge to Baltimore for work. So I'm very grateful to be employed by Four Seasons at Kent Island. We welcome them here. My husband and I also have a small business here, so we are grateful that we're here and we're able to spend more time with our families. I ask that you would approve phases 3 and 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it, Bruce?
That is, we did have a comment in.
Hi, I'm a sales consultant at Four Seasons. My name is Rebecca Mazzullo. I'm a resident of Queen Anne's County, and I support Four Seasons.
Thank you.
Okay. That is all. I did have a comment in the chat from Annie. Annie was the one that spoke and said that she submitted, but you guys got that, right?
Yes.
How would that have gotten to us?
In the email. She sent a letter in addition to her comments.
I was getting ready to ask where those written comments were. I did not receive them. If they did, when?
I'll make you a copy.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think also in that same vein, the Department of Planning and Zoning received comments from Jesse Hammock, an attorney with Parker Koontz, and that had been forwarded to you for your review as well.
Right, I was going to put that in the record. We received the 19-page document this morning from Parker Koontz, Parker, Goodman, Gordon, and Hammock LLC, attorneys at law. Please show in the record that we received it. Make it part of the meeting.
But Bruce, there's no one from on Zoom representing those written comments from Parker Koontz?
Not that I see. If there is someone, if you could turn on your video and just wave so we know you're there, but I have not seen that come up yet.
As Madam Chair points out, it's a lot to digest when we first get it, when we first walk in. I was just wondering if there's an executive summary that could be delivered verbally.
Well, it's looking like not.
And if it would help, in summary, they're looking for 3 conditions to be added. I can address the first condition that during the presentation there was some detail about cut and fill in the floodplain, and they asked that it be clear that there be replanting of that area, and that's what the revised plans reflect. You know, that area will be.
Mr. Griffith stated that they will not allow to naturally regenerate, they will actively replant.
That's correct. There's a planting plan that goes along with that as well.
What was their second one?
The second one was they believe that the wetland license had a time of year restriction that applied to the entire project. The county has not applied it that way, and we don't believe it is applied that way to the entire project. The wetland license is specific to pier construction and the sewer line construction. That's what the wetland license has jurisdiction over, and the way the county has implemented it is that the time of year restrictions applies to the pier construction and the drilling of the water line, or the sewer line at the time that that happened. The third point was that the stormwater management of the project be maintained by the homeowners association and not by the county, and that's going to happen. It's not the county's responsibility to maintain the on-site stormwater management. We'll periodically inspect it and direct the community to repair it if necessary, but the county will not be financially responsible for the stormwater management in the future. So that's we just aren't.
I could add, Madam Chair.
Down a wrong.
Just the covenants provide for that, which have been reviewed by Mr. Drummond and a part of the
Right.
That's all I was going to add.
So they've all been resolved evidently.
That's
Okay.
how the counties dealt with the issues they've brought up. You know, I'm not representing them, and I'm not, you know, I'm just, those were the things that were brought up. Two of them are clearly satisfied, and I explained how we dealt with the third.
Any other comments?
Annie did reach out again in chat. I guess she thought the whole thing that she submitted would be read. She just asked if she could make more comments in addition. Okay. All right, Annie, I'm going to come back to you. Just give me 1 second.
She
to
is
find you.
limited to 3 minutes.
Who is this?
This is Annie Richards. Sorry, I just got to find your name again, Annie.
Is this a Queen Anne?
I just asked you to unmute, please.
Thanks so much. So Annie Richards here again. I'm the Chester River Keeper with Shore Rivers. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments on the proposed concept plans. After reviewing the related documents, we urge the commissioners to consider our
John, are you
recommendations
checking the
for
time?
current proposals.
Well,
The stormwater runoff generated by this development will have profound negative impacts on the Chester River and will be overwhelming to the transitional lands and marshes left standing once construction is complete. While 85.69 acres of protected woodland is a start to mitigating runoff, it is not the best management practice available. As the Chester River Keeper, I am advocating for no further deforestation to occur for the implementation of this development. Removal of swaths of trees for the sake of improved water views, as outlined in Section K, is not an acceptable trade for the last remaining natural buffers in the area, and implore the commissioners to protect all currently existing woodlands. The buffer management plan provided seems to be based on the Critical Area Commission recommendations from 2004. In the last 18 years, there have been significant advances and changes in data regarding climate change and sea level rise, as well as the measurable positive benefits of allowing existing marshes room to migrate as sea level changes occur. I advocate today for a 300-foot minimum buffer around the entire proposed community. The proposed 150-foot buffer areas will not be enough to ensure the future resiliency of the community, nor will it protect our rivers from improperly treated stormwater runoff when flooding occurs. To further ease the stormwater impact in the Chester watershed, I propose the commissioners require all parking lots, spaces, driveways to be constructed with permeable materials to the highest possible extent, complemented by bioretention basins and swales, and with a native species landscape plan in place to provide substantial canopy cover for any roads or lots built with impermeable materials. I strongly urge you to reconsider the plan as currently proposed. This is a pivotal time for Queen Anne's County with the revisioning of their comprehensive plan during a time when our communities must accept the certainty of negative impacts from climate change. It is unreasonable for the county to allow the removal of wetlands and increase impervious surface development on Kent Island without mandating robust and comprehensive strategies to be adopted by the permit applicant to mitigate the loss of the benefits provided by that ecosystem. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is a resolution for final subdivision.
Madam Chair, just one clarifying question I can of Mr. Cahoon. So it's this, realizing, Mr. Cahoon, you're not an attorney, but it's the county attorney's interpretation of this Exhibit 2 as provided by Mr. Hammock. The Board of Public Works Wetland License 0706 deals only with the directional boring of water and sewer lines, whatever infrastructure that, as well as the pier, and not the clearing that Mr. Griffith spoke about, the cut and fill, and that Ms. Richards is voicing concerns over. Is that correct?
That's correct. The wetland license,
That's correct. That's all, that's what the Board of Public Works approved. It was disturbances to tidal wetlands I thought there was a couple of outfalls in the wetlands license. There was a couple of outfalls, pier. And what was the other thing you mentioned?
Oh, well, Mr. Griffith outlined the cut and fill.
Well, that's not in a wetland.
That was my next follow-up question.
Right.
Okay. I wanted clarification because we literally just got this, and I'm trying to interpret what's in front of us.
The impacts to the wetlands that were associated with the bridge have gone away. I couldn't get that approval.
Right.
Which I mean, I appreciate the fact that the Four Seasons representative says that that's a donation to the county. Well, they couldn't do much else with it but give it to the county after the state turned them down. So.
Right. Okay, I just want to be clear on the interpretation and the standing of the information as I understand. That's all. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, so now I would like to entertain a resolution for final subdivision approval. Then I will do it. Be it resolved that the Planning Commission regarding the request by K. Hovanian's Four Seasons at Kent Island 2 LLC for 374 single-family lots and associated open space lots as Phase 3 and 4 of the proposed 1,079 dwelling unit age restricted community, and is more particularly described in Department of Planning and Zoning File SP 19-06-27-C, hereby finds and grants final subdivision approval. Any remaining edits and/or documents required by the Department of Public Works and Department of Planning and Zoning be reviewed and approved. All required bond, sureties, review, and inspection fees must be submitted to the Department of Public Works and the Department of Planning and Zoning as appropriate. Any required legal documents must be approved, signed, and recorded, and all required signatures must be obtained. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Teddy Baker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is Jeff still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I didn't hear you. Did you say aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, final site plan approval, condominium building? Yes, sir.
No, somebody asked who that was. I thought it was Sharon.
Oh,
Who abstained?
Lee.
Tom Lee.
Tom Lee.
I'll continue. Resolved that the Planning Commission regarding the request by K. Hovanian's Four Seasons at Kent Island 2 LLC for 294 condominium units in 21 multifamily buildings as Phase 3 and 4 of the proposed 1,079 dwelling unit age-restricted community, and is more particularly described in Department of Planning and Zoning File SP 19-06-27-C, hereby finds and grants final site approval with the following conditions. Any remaining edits and/or documents required by the Department of Public Works and Department of Planning and Zoning be reviewed and approved. All required bonds, sureties, review, and inspection fees must be submitted to the Department of Public Works and Department of Planning and Zoning as appropriate. Any required legal documents must be approved, signed, and recorded, and all required signatures must be obtained. May I get a second?
Kathy, do you have, I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Tom Lee abstained again.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I think you're
very
finished.
much. Thank you. Safe travels. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Are we still having the planned workshop, do you know?
For the comp plan, I thought so.
Are they here?
They're in Zoom.
Uh,
They're in the Zoom meeting.
They're attending virtually today
Okay.
because of the weather, but we are having it.
Okay. All right, let's take a break, 5-minute break. Mr. Lawyer. Let's go back into session, please, so we can get on with the day.
We good, Ted? All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, comprehensive plan workshop. Lauren Good and Ray Moravec of Wallace Montgomery will lead the commission in a comprehensive plan work session. We're turning it over to you, Lauren.
Great, sounds good. Thank you so much for having us with you today virtually. Roads are a little snowy and icy, so we appreciate this opportunity to join you over Zoom. As you just mentioned, we are going to be providing this update on the status of the planning process to date, and then talking more specifically about the plan's draft third chapter, which has a focus on community facilities and services. At our last meeting, one of the things that we talked about was really how we are reaching out to the county's residents, businesses, and other stakeholders. So we wanted to just provide this brief overview of some of the different outreach efforts that have been going on since the January meeting. So those include scheduling all of the.
So hold on a second, Lauren. Is the rest of the committees in there? Is Sharon on and Jeff?
We do have Sharon Brinster on. I have not
Kathy Diotis?
seen Kathy, or there we go. There's Jeff's on. I haven't seen Kathy restart hers yet, or Arthur. There we go.
Art's on. Kathy Diotis is on. Okay, good. We're back in session. Okay, and Lauren, I would ask you, rather than read every word that's on these bullets, can we just do like a summary of them?
Definitely.
Okay, that would be appreciated.
So we have scheduled all of the different outreach meetings throughout the remainder of the process until we get to that the adoption phase. So that information is all on the website, and we have started more actively reaching out to various organizations as well as those who are interested in having project updates. So they're getting regular updates about status and upcoming meetings. So we've just been using a few different venues to try to do that through email, social media, and working with some of the different county departments to get information about the project out more into the public sphere. In that column on the right, you can see that we've had quite a few interactions with the public on our project website with over 2,300 distinct page views. So that's great to hear, and that number just keeps going up. And then also, we've had a number of the questions of the week since the project started. And those responses are ratcheting up as we move forward throughout the process. So we anticipate that we will continue to get greater numbers of responses, and then of course it will depend on the particular topic itself. And then speaking of questions of the week, the second batch of questions was focusing more on park and recreation facilities. So we were just asking for the three factors that are most important to people when they decide to visit park or recreation facility. And the top three responses were that the facilities are well maintained, that they're convenient, and that the facilities and surrounding areas are safe and secure. Similarly, we asked people what three facilities they plan to use in the next year, and the top three responses were Conquest, the Terrapin Nature Area, and then a tie for the Mattapique Clubhouse and Public Beach, as well as the public landings and boat launches. We do have some additional questions of the week that are ongoing, but they're still in progress, so we'll provide those updates to you at your next meeting. Some of the commission were able to participate in the visioning workshops that we have held so far. We've held 4 of them, and the last one in the series is occurring later on tonight. So that will be held virtually starting at 5:30 p.m. Each of these visioning workshops had sort of a split focus, one being looking at the county as a whole, and then the other at a particular community area. So we have had a good number of participants in these workshops, ranging from in the mid-30s to over 50. So that's really great to see that. And we've been having a lot of good conversations and comments coming in, whether they are being spoken aloud or through chat room or things like that, much like these meetings are occurring. So each of these workshops, we had a number of discussion topics that really tried to focus in on what people thought the different opportunities and challenges were for both that countywide as well as the particular geographic area. We also discussed we're calling them big ideas that participants may have, just things that either pop into their mind or they've been thinking about for a longer period of time, that these might be something good to incorporate or for the county to consider in that the next 10 years of the planning implementation phase. And then we wrapped up each of those different workshops by really trying to highlight what participants thought the different priorities were related to the visioning when thinking about those opportunities, challenges, and ideas. So here on these slides are just really very high level, quick word or two that really summarizes the main topics that were discussed. We are going to be putting one-page summaries for each of these visioning workshops on the project website, and then we'll have some more detailed information and specifics for your next meeting that is able to incorporate all 5 workshops, comments, and responses. While we did have that focus on the different planning areas throughout the county, there were several topics that kept coming up regardless of the actual workshop, and a lot of those related to affordable housing or good educational opportunities, local jobs, challenges surrounding traffic and broadband access. And there were a number of ideas that focused on preparing for climate change or resiliency, or how rising sea levels and increasing storms may affect some of the lower lying or coastal areas of the county. And then again, building off of those priorities being providing that affordable or workforce housing, looking at sewer capacities, provision of broadband, preserving appropriate land, and having focused development areas. Similarly, on this slide, you'll see a lot of those same topics that sort of weave their way through them. So it's good to see that we're starting to narrow in on those true priority areas, and we are incorporating those into the plan as we move forward. And then yesterday afternoon, we held our first special topic workshop. And whereas the visioning workshops really look more comprehensively at the county, these special topic workshops are looking at particular topic areas closely aligned with the different chapters in the plan itself. So the workshop that we held yesterday, again, focused on community facilities and services, and had some more general conversations about countywide assets or needs, some of the, identified as the library and school systems being great assets, the non-automotive transportation facilities, waterways, and then needs that were identified. A lot of them were related to connectivity or providing opportunities for VOTEC or technology-based education, places for people to meet, looking at the adequate public facilities, ordinances, and things of that nature. This workshop then went into more specifics about the various specific topic areas in the in that chapter. So for community facilities, really focusing on public safety, education and libraries, and then parks and recreation. So again, here just really pinpointing where people thought there were priorities. Again, you see that traffic is, as I'm sure you all guessed, one of those recurring themes. And then just making sure that the different facilities and services are in place to serve a multi-age and multi-ability audience, if you will. And we had two particular poll questions where we were just asking, what do people really wish they had in the county? And it was really interesting, the range of responses that we got, everywhere from composting facilities to reliable internet and non-automotive transportation options, and everywhere in between. And then a follow-up question that if the county had this type of facility, it would really make them want to stay in the county and, for example, not look to move out of the county. So some of those responses included some cultural opportunities like museums and public gardens, as well as more and different park facilities, or making sure that there's a good enough water quality for people to swim in it. We will have a number of additional special topic workshops throughout the next several months. So all of these are posted to the project website, and more information is coming out as we get a little bit closer to each of those meetings. And then with that, I'm just going to jump right into really the focus of this workshop, and that is looking at that draft community facilities and services chapter. So overall, the chapter has a sort of a one-page informational summary, and this is something that you will see in future chapters as well, where right up front, the vision, key issues, themes, and major goals are identified. So if someone is interested but doesn't have the time to read more than just that one page, they can at least get that really quick glimpse into what people are thinking about related to community facilities and services. You will all note the copy of the draft that you received. Those key issues and planned themes were still in progress because we were not able to hold the special topic workshop until yesterday. Also had a meeting with our technical committee, which is comprised mainly of representatives from the various county departments. So we are compiling all of that information, and we have some additional follow-up conversations scheduled that will help us to finalize this document. As with the previous chapters, this is just sort of a first glance at it to get your initial feedback, and then we will continue to refine the various topics moving forward. As we move on past that sort of one-page summary of the chapter, we start providing more information on the different principles and legislative background that really serve to inform the topic. For instance, in this case, there's definitely that focus on adequate public facilities. We're also incorporating some of the major points of public input that we've heard both from the visioning workshops, special topic workshops, as well as from the community survey that was done back in the fall of 2019, or at least started at that point. And then we will continue to refine these throughout the next several months as new information comes in from various sources. After that, we really get into more of the specifics about these different facilities and services that are provided within the county. First, taking a look at really its governance and structure and what makes up the county government, as well as what non-county agencies are represented. Then taking a look at public safety facilities and services, and providing background on those different facilities and services, and then having a discussion of where what some of those needs are and opportunities to be utilized in the future. We do have another meeting scheduled with the Department of Emergency Services to flesh out some additional information for that section. So that is one area where we will be incorporating some additional information for the next version of the draft itself. The next subtopic talks briefly about different utility facilities and services, so water and wastewater, telecommunications, things like that. One difference between this update and the 2010 plan is that we're really trying to concentrate information in one area of the plan, so you don't really need to look in multiple places to find similar information. So while the 2010 plan did have a little bit more information in this section related to water and wastewater facilities, those are really being discussed more completely as part of the environmental chapter, which incorporates the water resources element that is a requirement by the state. The draft then moves on to talk about different educational facilities and services, everywhere from the public school system to those some of those different areas like the VOTEC or other opportunities, and then looking at the higher education opportunities that are available within the county. Tied closely to that are the library facilities and services, and just highlighting those in conjunction, and sort of laying out those existing conditions and future expectations for those different components. One more area where there is a requirement from the state is looking at the open space and recreation facilities and services. So that's incorporated in this chapter as well. And that's looking at everything from parks and open space to recreation programs and public water access, launches or marinas. We have some follow-up conversations that are going to be taking place because the county is sort of in a similar timeline, also working on the land preservation, parks and recreation plan, which that draft is, I believe that is anticipated for fall of this year. So working with that department to so that we can integrate information that they're preparing for that draft and then vice versa, so that we both have the most up-to-date information as possible on those different topics. And then the last couple of components of these drafts are looking at any best management practices, tools, or techniques. So that's one of those areas where you'll see that moving forward in other chapters. Any of those that we want to highlight or think could provide some additional clarity on any of the incorporated information. And then really wrapping up the overall chapter with a list of the goals, so reiterating those that you see on that first one-page summary sheet, but then providing additional information in the form of different strategies and actions that the county can take over the next, the county and its partners could take over the next 10 years to help meet those goals, which helps to meet the overall county vision that we are refining as part of these visioning workshops.
Stephanie, can I stop you for a question and a comment? The polls that you do at the beginning of these sessions are, first I want to congratulate you on running the sessions in a way that I know there's a lot of challenges on your end, and there's a lot of challenges on the end of many users. So I've been on 3 of them. I think that they've gone rather smoothly. And the first couple of poll questions you put out there are pretty simple, how long you've lived in the county. But when you ask for answers to more conceptual questions and you've got 30 or 40 seconds to answer it, I mean, for some, that's not even enough time to type, that. So I didn't know if you had any plans to keep that in place or to just ask for comments in the chat room. So that's one question. And then my comment is to follow up on my comment yesterday on communications with regard to the Department of Emergency Services, and I guess this is well timed because you will be meeting with them, is the communications piece. Particularly, this brought to mind Four Seasons this morning, where we have a 55+ demographic, many of whom are moving here from other areas. And even a lot of people who live in this area are unaware that our Department of Emergency Services and Health Department runs a mobile integrated community unit, that our 911 call center has helped identify what they call frequent flyers. These are people who need monitoring for fluid levels, blood pressure, and that is a service available to these people. And another one is that our Department of Emergency Services is working with practices in this area and in Annapolis to kind of serve as a stopgap between leaving a patient after surgery or whatever home alone and without having to bring in or hire home health care. So that was my expounding upon my point about communications, especially in a community like Four Seasons, that they know that if they're coming home after a simple surgery, that their very own Department of Emergency Services could help them guide through the recovery process on some level. So, thank you.
Thank you. Those are really great comments. And I'll just briefly address your second comment first. When we work on these different comprehensive planning projects, we see that there are really multiple uses for them, and one of those is that communications piece, and really trying to highlight what makes the county a unique place, or what are the those special services that are provided, or things of that nature. So it not only serves as an informational guide, as well as a blueprint for how to reach the goals and visions over the next 10 to 20 years, but also in the same vein helps to serve sort of as that marketing type piece of material, for really a lack of a better term there. Again, just really trying to highlight those different areas, like those two that you just mentioned. So those are the some of those pieces that we are going to be working through to incorporate those as well as others in these drafts moving forward. And then to go back to your comment on those open-ended poll questions as part of these meetings. Like you mentioned, the first two questions are typically where do you live and how long have you lived in the county, and those two just really help us to get a better understanding of who the participants are in the meeting. That can help us when we provide some additional analysis on the comments that we received, or just helps to frame the conversation. If 90% of the participants are from one geographic area, we can probably expect that there might be a slightly different slant to the conversation than there might have been if they were from clear across the other side of the county. The second feature of that is that, well, I know a lot of us are participating in many more of these virtual meetings. There are so many different platforms out there, so it really is just a quick exercise to help the participants get a little bit more familiar with that program if they weren't already. So sort of that twofold purpose for those initial questions. And then when we get to more of those open-ended questions, it does become sort of that balancing act between providing enough time for some of the respondents to finish their answers while keeping the meeting moving along. So those are challenges that we face as the meeting facilitators, and there's definitely always opportunities to go back and provide additional comments in those chat boxes, or even to submit any additional comments or questions either via email or through our project website through the comment and feedback form. So we're really looking at those two as more of a way to get pieces of information regardless of the way that it comes into us, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Lauren, if I could add two little things too. The other side we're monitoring with that is the first part with who's attending and not. We're trying to see if there might be groups that are not participating, besides those who are just participating, and if there are other outreach efforts or focuses we need to do to make sure we're getting across the board representation. That's a big part of it as well. It's tough in this virtual environment to try to make sure we're hitting all of the groups. The other part of it too is if we see some of those questions, or even if you all see some things that we're hearing or maybe not getting enough, we can even target some of those questions as being the question of the week or something that we are posting on the website. So it's another opportunity or another venue to get that type of question out for additional feedback. And then they would have, even more time to put response and thought together if they'd like. So, if you all from the commission side see a question or something that you really want to get some feedback on, let us know. We can look to make it those question of the week type questions, or do some e-blast or things like that to try and get additional feedback.
So at this point, we were really hoping to see, since you've had a chance to take a look at this chapter, as well as the briefing memo that we put together, just if you had any initial thoughts, comments, questions, suggestions about the content that is included, or what might not be incorporated so far that we need to pull in. You will see that in general, we've gone back and to address the commission's desire to have some slight changes to formatting. We've made those changes in these drafts, also sharing the updated chapters 1 and 2 that have that larger font size, and tries to just clarify some of the items that are contained within those draft sections, as well as including some additional map or figure references, and providing some additional information about areas where the commission raised some questions during our last meeting.
So this is Jeff Reese. Overall, thank you for the work that you've put in so far. I found that some of the public comments that were brought forth in some of the earlier meetings were interesting in the fact that people felt we didn't have enough trails and things of that nature, public facilities outdoors. I think the county's worked very hard over the last 10 to 15 years to increase those, and negotiations at the county level through the commissioners to add certain things, through developer right agreements with the county to upgrade certain facilities, to add trails, to fix trails. You can now go across the Kent Narrows bridge and around and continue down through Graysonville. So I think that, we've made a lot of strides in those respects. And hopefully you'll capture some of those things in your report.
That's definitely something that we want to include. Again, making sure that the informational component of the plan provides information so that all of the documents and users have that similar baseline of information available. While we may not get into pages upon pages of discussion, for example, about the county's trail system, we would definitely want to highlight, highlight those informational pieces, and then perhaps point people into to a direction if they want to find out additional information on those areas. So that's one of the things where we are incorporating a lot of different resources, both plans and planning efforts that the county has undertaken in the past 10 years, as well as those of its municipalities and even some of the neighboring counties and the state, and seeing really how we can provide that broad, comprehensive overview of these different components, and then still allow for some of that additional, more detailed information should that be something that someone wants to find out more about.
Lauren, an overall question. Are you bringing in for comment, like the corresponding or appropriate county government, like, directors or agencies with respect to these, like, public safety? Obviously, you're talking to DES. I mean, are you talking to the school board? Are you talking to, some representatives from the library? Are you talking to our Department of Community Services? Even economic development and tourism to weigh in on some of these?
We have been having some of those initial conversations and reaching out to those various county departments or even some of the local organizations within the county. And that's going to be an ongoing process to make those contacts and incorporate that information. In addition to sort of those more one-on-one, if you will, either conversations or informational exchanges, we also have the technical committee, which has a similar topic set up as the special topic workshops, which are similarly matched to the different conversations that we're having with the Planning Commission to really drill down on some of those different areas in slightly different ways. So that technical committee is comprised of either department heads or representatives from the different agencies to provide an overarching source of additional technical guidance for us as we move throughout this process. So not only having one-on-one discussions, for example, about the Department of Emergency Services, but then how might that topic impact some of the other departments or areas within the plan itself.
Okay.
So we'll be having more and more of those as this process moves forward.
Thank you.
So I guess did the commission have any more specific comments or questions about that draft or any of its components, or any of the different workshops that we've held to date?
I think we're good.
Well, if you continue to go through those, and if anything comes up, please reach out to us and let us know about those. And then really, just a brief overview. Again, we have our last visioning workshop that is taking place this evening, with the focus on the county as a whole, as well as the North County area. That will be extremely similar to layout and conversation starters as was done for the first visioning workshop, but just providing additional opportunities for that larger geographic area and the stakeholders within it to provide some additional comments or questions, or if they weren't able to make the first meeting. We've got a number of special topic workshops coming up in the coming weeks. So those next ones will have a focus on the environment and transportation. and then looking at historic and cultural resources, as well as housing. You, in your meeting packets, I believe that you may have received a copy of our updated schedule. That's also available on the project website, and then information about individual meetings or workshops are also being posted to the website, as well as to the county website, and it's the social media avenues that it has. And then similarly, looking in the same vein as those different topic workshops, we're also, again, holding the technical committee workshops, and just to make very clear, this is a really a working group where we are looking at some of those more technical issues. So these are internal meetings, which is why there's not more promotion of them outside of just general informational pieces here and there. Then again, the future planning commission meetings will tie to those different topic areas with the discussions on environmental resources and protection and transportation coming up in March, and then housing and historic and cultural resources in April.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any questions from the commission? Okay. Next on the agenda, we have public comments.
Again, real quick, I don't think we've had anyone come in. No, we're good.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Who's second? Art. Thank you. All right, everyone have a safe weekend, and hopefully we'll see most of you on Zoom tonight at 5:30.
Done from the meeting, so they didn't have the sound.
Oh.
I turned it back up. It's been out.
That's all right.
Well, they're gone.
Yeah, they exited, yeah.
Apparently, there's